Hi everyone, and welcome to StudioJake. I, of course, am your host, Jacob Berry. Be sure to like this video, share it out to all your friends, whatever platform you're on. I'm all over the place. Now, I know I've been gone for a while, but that's because my super cute wife and I, we have actually moved out of California to Phoenix. It just got way too expensive in California. We're also closer to family here in Phoenix, Arizona. As you saw on my Instagram, I went to UConn, which... unfortunate name. I know a lot of weirdos on social media use that, but it's just what it was. It was a blast. I had a great time. Go check out the photos. But also, I wanted to say I'm going to apologize for the quality. I know the camera might look a little different, and I know my voice is going to echo a little different. I haven't gotten my studio set up totally. It's not going to look like this where I'm sideways all the time, and it's not going to echo all the time. I've got a mic, it's just a lot of stuff is still packed, or I haven't found a way to arrange it in this room. But this is going to be my new office, my study. This is where I'll be shooting most of my videos. With this in mind, I hope you will forgive me, and for those 2 people who unsubscribed while I was taking my hiatus, no, I'm just kidding. I understand. It was a while. I did post something for Halloween. I hope you saw that, but no, I get it. Also, I'll be back with my StudioJake Faith channel as well. So before we get started into the topic of the day, check out my novels. So these 2 right here are parts 1 and 2 of my fantasy trilogy. Check them out if you're tired of stuff like Wheel of Time or Rings of Power or some other woke fantasy. Definitely not woke. Check them out. You can get them on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or pretty much everywhere books are sold. And this was my debut novel. This is Cacophony, A Tale of Faith and Fear. It's about a gang of demons that are trying to corrupt the humans in this town and the angels that are set up to save them. So, hope you enjoyed it. So, like I said, just now getting used to my new digs and whatnot. I was going to wait much later in November to relaunch, but I decided to go ahead and go for it because I wanted to talk about Wakanda Forever, the Black Panther sequel directed by Ryan Coogler. I have to admit, I was going to avoid talking about it because the first Black Panther, despite stuff that some of the cast had said and even Ryan Coogler himself said, it ended up being a pretty good film. I thought it was good of that, last slate of Marvel superhero movies, the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if you will. I thought it was a pretty good addition to that. I love Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa. He was the embodiment of Black Panther. I thought he was great in all the other films he guest starred as Black Panther. So with that in mind, I was willing to give Black Panther Wakanda Forever the benefit of the doubt. However, I expressed concerns on my social media that they were rushing the sequel, that they should have waited, and because they had said from the outset that they weren't going to recast T'Challa. And as much as I admire Chadwick Boseman, I think that was a bad decision as far as industry decisions go. I think what they should have done is they should not have moved forward with this Black Panther sequel. I think they should have let Ryan Coogler, who is a tremendous director, he's very talented. I think they should have let him take on another project, any project, an Avengers movie, the Ant-Man sequel, whatever it was. They should have let him do another one in between, and then introduce a new actor as T'Challa in a different movie. Now, there are rumors that they lied, that they are going to recast T'Challa, they just haven't yet, and that seems kind of concerning to me because they have said that Wakanda Forever takes place a year after T'Challa's death. So, I guess they're going to do something where maybe he dies during the Avengers Endgame, maybe a little after. But what's concerning me about this movie is there's a couple of things. Now, in principle, I don't have a problem with Shuri becoming Black Panther because she did briefly in the comics before they went woke. Now, they were kind of starting to teeter a little bit with political correctness around this time, but they weren't full-on woke. I read the story a long time ago, so I need to probably reread it and refresh my memory of it. But I remember liking it. I thought it was a good story. I thought they presented Shuri well in that story. The artwork was fantastic as far as I remember. The covers on it were amazing. And so in principle, I don't have a problem with Shuri taking over. Now, hopefully the trailers aren't just teasing this. Hopefully it is Shuri. I would at least prefer that to them just some random character or someone else. I would hope it would be Shuri. But whatever the case may be, I just don't trust Marvel Studios and Disney as a whole to do it correctly, because we've seen they haven't been able to do it recently. We saw this with She-Hulk, we saw this with Captain Marvel, and they just keep pulling out these mediocre things where they have to make an empowered woman by sort of the SJW standard. They always have to make them a jerk and a Mary Sue. And I don't know why they did this. Now, I just saw Black Adam, and in my review of Black Adam, I noted how Cyclone was a really great female character. She was really well written. She wasn't a Mary Sue. She wasn't woke and all of this. Now, I do know there were some changes to the characters that one might consider social justice-y, but I don't think that they made the character herself woke. I thought that they presented her in a really good way. I thought the actress who portrayed Cyclone did a fantastic job. But, going back to Black Panther, I'm getting concerned, and it seems to me featurettes and trailers are doing this for me. So one of the things they're doing is they're making Namor, he's no longer Atlantean, they're making him where he's like this Aztecan king. Now, I'm a little confused because they're in some of the sequence, it's pretty clear that his kingdom is underwater, so I don't know if they're going to do something where there are these humans who evolved where they could live underwater, something like that. The actor who played Namor is a fantastic actor, and he would have been able to play Namor, I think, if they hadn't have made all these changes. But where they're going to me, I'm a little confused because Wakanda is clearly not an oppressed nation. They even go out of their way to say this in the Black Panther film, right? That's why they're going to start a civic center in Los Angeles, which they show in Black Panther. So, and the Atlanteans, unless you just count the fact that they're underwater, they don't really seem to be oppressed by the rest of humanity. So it's going to be these two technologically advanced empires fighting over who's the least oppressed. I just think that's kind of dumb, for one thing. And also this whole thing where they're changing the pronunciation of Namor to Namor or whatever it is. It's just stupid. And also one thing is, in the comic books, Namor is half human and half Atlantean. His mother really loved him. The Atlanteans are blue skin, but he was born half human, half Atlantean, and also he's a mutant. So he's incredibly powerful. Like he's powerful enough to fight Hulk. He's powerful enough to take on Thor. There's even one comic book where he fights all of the Avengers, including T'Challa, and defeats them. Now, I know they did the whole thing where Wakanda Atlantis had the war, and Black Panther does defeat him in that circumstance. And I honestly feel like they were trying to make Namor into Black Adam, right? So Black Adam, he is from sort of northern Africa. It's sort of a country modeled on, say, Saudi Arabia or Egypt or Libya. He's from a nation like that. So it was like they were trying to do this with Namor. They wanted to make him, Hispanic and bring this out. And I just think that was a mistake. And I think they're going to find that that's going to box them in. Because Namor, sometimes he's a hero, sometimes he's a villain, and sometimes he's an anti-hero. He's been a member of the Invaders. He's been a member of the Defenders. He's been an Avenger. And also he's been a member of the Cabal, which is led by Red Skull and Dr. Doom. He's also started his own sort of underwater criminal organization with a bunch of other aquatic-themed villains. So I think that when it comes to Namor, they should have tried to maintain that. Now, if they were like, hey, we don't want to really introduce Atlantis at this point, we just think that would be too much of a disruption in the MCU. I think what they should have done is gone the Ultimate route. Now, I don't say that often because I hated the Ultimates. I thought the Ultimate Universe was completely bullcrap. Later, early on, the stuff was really cool. So, like the first two Ultimates, Ultimate Captain America, Ultimate Iron Man, which they retconned later, which was really dumb. And the Ultimate Spider-Man, like something like the first 50 issues, same with X-Men. I thought they were really good, but then they started to get more into the woke stuff, and they did this weird thing where Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch had an inappropriate relationship, and they weren't even Magneto's children like they were in the mainstream, and their biological father, revealed to be possibly Wolverine, is like watching them and getting his kicks off of it. It's really gross and dumb. stuff. They really pushed the boundaries, I think, too much. But in the Ultimate Comics, going back to Namor, he was the last Atlantean, and he was someone who claimed to be the ruler of Atlantis. And the Fantastic Four have to face him after his tomb is discovered and it's accidentally unlocked. They find out he's still alive, and of course he's incredibly powerful. So, and I think that they should have gone that route. They should have made him like the last surviving Atlantis. That would have given him more of a drive to be a villain. And I think for a while I had heard that they were going to do this thing where Kraven the Hunter was going to be the villain. That was like the rumored plot, but I think that got changed along the way when the Sony's Spider-Man universe decided to do a Kraven solo movie, which I think is going to be a complete disaster if Morbius is any indication. The only good thing about Morbius was the Doctor Who actor, Matt Smith. His performance was good, and then the post-credit scene was good. That's, even though logically it makes no sense, but it was still a good scene nonetheless. But whatever the case may be, I'm still going to look forward to it. I'm going to go give it a try. Like I say, I like Ryan Coogler as a director. I think he's a good director. And he seems to be at least grounded. A lot of these Hollywood directors, when they've been in Hollywood for so long, they start to believe their own publicity. They start to get a little narcissistic, no matter who they are. We've seen this with Steven Spielberg, with James Cameron, where they were once these great visionary directors, and now they've just kind of, they like to smack around Marvel, but then you see Spielberg shilling for Disney, you see Cameron shilling for the Na'vi and whatnot. The Alien franchise with Ridley Scott, that's another perfect example of a director who just they want to crap all over stuff. That their fact is they're just jealous. These movies do way better because people care about these modern myths. And that's what Overlord, the channel Overlord DVD, he calls them modern myths, these comic book stories, and that's why people get so upset. It would be no different if we saw sort of people who like classical things get upset at this thing with Joan of Arc, where they were gonna change how she identified, as far as gender goes, and people, they all rose up and were mad. But then when we get upset because they gender bend or race swap a character, they're like, oh, it's just comic books, why do you care? I'm like, well, why did you care when it happened to Joan of Arc? Like, I know she's a real historic figure, so maybe that's a bad example, but it was just a play. It's the same thing we see all the time. It was just a play. Like, no one said anything when other in other points, they get all upset when sort of the classical things, but what they don't realize is these characters, especially once the corporations are taken out of the equation, these characters are going to be considered mythology way in the future. I remember there's a Star Trek episode, Star Trek The Next Generation, I think it's called A Fistful of Datas, where Worf, Deanna Troi, and Worf's son, Alexander, the three of them are trapped in the holodeck in an old Western kind of program. But Counselor Troy refers to it as the Ancient West. And then I thought that was kind of funny that they referred to it that way, because, we still think of it as the Old West, because really for us it was, something like, just 130 years ago, maybe a little bit more than that, but still the West isn't that old. But it will be, the 24th century, obviously, and I think it's going to be the same in the future. Like, I think, it's a shame, too, because I feel like it's going to be the same with something like Middle Earth. Of course, we have the Rings of Power to water that train ride down. But whatever the case may be, I'm still going to give Wakanda Forever the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give it a chance, but I'll let you know I am concerned about it. I'm concerned with the fact that they didn't recast T'Challa. I'm concerned with how they're going to portray whoever this female Black Panther is going to be. I'm definitely concerned with how Namor is being changed. But whatever the case, I'll go in with an open mind. I'm going to see it. I'm going to ignore all the crying on social media, and I'm just going to go and have a good time like I always do. So once again, apologies for all the technical issues with the echo, with the strange lighting. All that will be settled in a couple more shoots, I hope. So take care, and I'll see you next time. If you like that video, please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Give it a thumbs up. And I would be honored today if you would subscribe. No matter what platform you're watching on, please subscribe. Hit that follow button. Share it out all over the place. And check me out on some of my other socials. I've got links in the description below. Also, check out my website, StudioJakeMedia.com, and consider supporting this channel on StudioJakeMedia.locals.com. It really helps us smaller creators out. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.